going to be my demonstration of a 0-degree haircut on a mannequin. This is how I look at the salon these days. I have a uniform that I have to wear, my safety glasses, gloves, and the mask for hair cutting. Because we are alone in the salon today, I am not going to wear any of these just because there's nobody here. If any clients walk in though, you will see me quickly, or stay boards, probably quickly run and get the gloves and the mask. But again, there's nobody here, so we're fine for right now. So the mannequin has been parted into a 4-section parting. So we have the nose to the cheek spot in the back, the nape, and then behind the ear. So there's 4 quadrants all together. Just a reminder of how to hold your hair cutting shears. The ring finger, the thumb finger, and you just want to move the movable blade with your thumb. And when you go to palm it, remember you take your thumb out, palm the shears, and hold to comb, okay? And then quickly transfer the comb, put your thumb back in, and then you can cut, okay? So we're going to take down about a 1/2 inch. Always keep the clip somewhere else on the head. I like to make sure the hair is nice and wet. Make sure if it's a client, their legs aren't crossed. I'm going to always try to stay out of your way, so hopefully you can see this video. Comb it straight down. The way we do this is we're going to start in the middle for the blunt cut. So I'm going to be taking off probably a good 1.5 to 2 inches today. You want to try to keep your arms, elbows up, fingers nice and parallel to the floor, and always starting in the middle, straight down elevation at a 0 degree, and cutting under your fingers. Then you want to move out to either the left or the right. Straight fingers, making sure that you're cutting at a 0 degree elevation, and try not to go past second knuckle, which you might catch me doing every once in a while. So that is our guide. It's going to be a stationary guide. Again, taking the time to wet down the hair to keep the haircut consistent. If the hair ends up getting dry, your length will be inconsistent. The next step, we want to make sure we see the guide. And I don't know about in the camera, in the video if you can see this, but you want to be able to see that shadowy spot. So you can see the guide. There's the little pieces underneath. Sorry if that was off, but see the guide? Hopefully you could. So bringing the hair down nice and straight. Starting again in the middle and making sure you're cutting to the guide. Make sure you can see where you're supposed to be cutting. And I'm trying to lift my arm up so you can see. This isn't typically how I cut, but I want to make sure you can see. Again, cutting to that stationary guide. Make sure you can see it. Dropping down another 1/2 inch subsection. Wetting down the hair again. Combing the hair nice and smooth. Making sure to palm the shears. Comb the hair nice and straight. Again, find your guide. Hopefully you can see that. And transfer the comb. Put your thumb back in and cut. It is very beneficial if you walk around the client. I'm trying to stay a little bit out of the video's way today, but if you position yourself right in front of the section in which you're cutting, the cut will come out so much better. So you just want to keep dropping down about a 1/2 inch subsections through quadrants 3 and 4 in the back here. The guide starts to become very obvious. Okay, so making sure that you're cutting to that stationary guide. Always starting in the middle, 0-degree elevation, and cut. Again, drop down a 1/2 inch subsection in the back 3 and 4. And pin up the rest. Again, always remembering to make sure that the client has not moved their head or crossed their legs during the haircut. It's really important to make sure that you get that nice, even, blunt cut. If they're crossing their legs, it could throw off the haircut. If they start to talk to you and their head comes back up, that will also throw off the haircut. I personally have the clients look down a little for my blunt cuts. And it just kind of bevels the hair under naturally. Almost done the back section 3 and 4. And you want to make sure that the hair is combed down into its natural falling position. So take a little bit of time to make sure that that indeed is the way that the hair is directed when you go to cut for the blunt cut. And that's the back. What you're gonna do for the sides is, we don't need these clips anymore. I'll drop down a 1/2 inch over the ear. And a 1/2 inch over on this side as well. Make sure you spray the hair down nice and wet. The way I tackle my blunt haircuts for the sides is I like to cut both sides. So on this side, I'm going to take it to the guide in the back. On this side, I'm also going to take it to the guide in the back. And before I go through and cut the rest of the sides, I quickly make sure that what I've cut on either side is symmetrical before I begin, or else you're redoing a whole side because you didn't check before you actually got started. So the head doesn't have to be down to do the sides. The client's head can actually get cropped right back up. So you want to make sure that the mannequin is indeed back to a normal straight up position. And I'm just going to bring down the hair, and we're going to make sure we cut it right to that guide in the back. So there's my stationary guide. Now we're going to do the other side. And again, I'm trying to get my arms out of the way, so my arm position might not be great during this video. Just for the fact that I need you to be able to see. So again, just taking down the hair and matching it to that guide. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to see if it's symmetrical. So you're going to take a little piece and a little piece, making sure that they're exactly the same on both sides from, over the ear in the same position. You hold it down on a 0 degree angle, and you want to make sure that indeed it is symmetrical underneath her chin, which it's pretty good. So now I can go through and cut through each side. So again, dropping down about a 1/2 inch subsection, clipping up the rest. Keeping the hair saturation with wetness consistent, taking it down to that 0 degree stationary guide, and you can just continue to work through one whole side at this point in time. Be nice if that would stay there. Yeah, it does. Hopefully you can see under my arm. Again, take down another subsection, a 1/2 inch. Wet it down completely. Again, just a quick palm the shears. Always make sure those tips are closed. If they're open just the slightest bit, they're going to take a chunk out of the hair when you're combing. Maybe not today, but mark my words, it will happen. So make sure they're nice and tight shut. So comb it down. Hold your finger in position where you want to cut, and put your thumb back in and transfer the comb. Take down another half. bring it down and trim it to the stationary guide. This last one, I'm cheating, it's way too thick of a chunk, but just to get the video moving and get you on to your next, we'll take down the rest. Again, smoothing the hair, making sure that you always comb the hair nice from scalp to ends, so you end up with a nice solid line in your haircut, especially with your blunt cut. And follow it right through. So there's your blunt cut on one side. Let's move it to the other side. Again, drop down a 1/2 inch. Make sure you're wetting down the hair. And again, I think it's pretty clear where you're cutting to for the stationary guide. So make sure you can always see your guide. If you don't see your guide, you should not be cutting. Again, taking it down to a stationary and cut. And follow it right through to the front. Always on a 0-degree elevation. And then you should always go back and check through your work. So, to make sure that the sides did indeed stay symmetrical, I would turn my client to face me. And I would bring down both sides. And I would make sure that it is somewhat even. So it's a little longer on her right side. So I would just, at this point, I match them right here in front. So I know exactly where I'm taking it to. And then because this side was a little longer, I just work the haircut right back through until it meets. And it looks pretty good. Always hold down the hair. Make sure it is even at this point in time. And then if this was a real client, I also like to take my blunt cuts. I have them tilt their chin way, way down. And I always check to make sure that there's nothing that falls below our guideline. So I always want to make sure that that guideline is very nice and neat and there's nothing falling below. All right, so that's your blunt haircut from Miss Gilman.